Hey, how you doing? I'm Dan McGee. Welcome to my garage. I have a project I'm working on now, and it actually started back probably around the mid 2000s. I met an actor in Chicago. Actually, he was living in a friend of mine's building. His name was, or the actor was Max Gail, and you would know Max Gail. His probably best known for his role on Barney Miller as Wojciechowicz. Well, he's been in a lot of other movies, and if you watch General Hospital, he recently was playing Michael, the son of Sonny, and he actually got a Daytime Emmy Award for his role. He did an awesome job at it. But anyways, I met him through a friend of mine who was doing we were doing an independent movie together. So it just so happens that Max was living in that building, and he knew him, and Max actually said he would help us out in it, and he became one of the characters in it. So it was pretty awesome to have a well-known actor actually come and be part of our little movie, and we really had a fun time doing it. And Max and I became friends because of that. So he liked the way I was filming stuff, and he had an organization, and it was called LAP. And it's the best way that I could explain it is it's about what they call circling up and talking, communicating, and it's not about taking sides, because in a circle it's hard to take sides because it's a circle. And it's about finding the things that make you come together, not that divide you apart. So anyhow, I did some of the filming for him for that, and then some of that was in Chicago, and then I flew out to California a few times, and we started filming some of his people that he knows, some of his friends, acquaintances, and it turns out he has this wealth of really cool friends, really interesting. Well, one of them, his name is Tim Anderson. And Tim Anderson is one of those amazing guys. He's one of those people that it's hard to find somebody that's really smart, but actually is like a craftsman also. So he's not only an intellect, he's like super good with his hands. And we filmed a bunch of videos in all different places, and one of them that what I'm gonna do, there's many hours of video of all these things that we did together. Well, I'm gonna try to break them down into like 10-minute videos, so they're not real long. But what I'll do is at the end of all these videos, I'll put them all together, and I'll put a link so you can watch it all together if you wanted to. But anyhow, the first video that I put together is with Tim, and it's being shot in a cafe in somewhere in Southern California. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was not a big place, and it was kind of noisy, but the audio is still legible. So I Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Because I'm breaking it up, I'm going to tell you a little about what's going on before it starts, because we might be in the middle of a conversation. So this particular conversation, Tim just got off the phone with the National Fish and Wildlife Service, and this year that this was filmed, he was getting an award for Volunteer of the Year. So that's where it picks up. He's getting off the phone, and then you won't ever see me in any of these videos because I was behind the camera. You'll hear my voice every once in a while, but you won't actually see me in any of it. So you're lost. What are you gonna do? That was before selfies. Well, before my selfies anyways. So that's about all, and on with the show.
Another case in point, that was the Portland office wanting to know if we needed anything. Well, if I were dicking around with paperwork, I wouldn't be able to, be on their radar.
The Portland office
of Fish and Wildlife Service.
Can we bring out in this context, even though they're not going to announce it until next week, because nobody's going to see this before next week?
Award?
Your award?
Yeah. Volunteer of the Year for the National Fish and Wildlife Service.
I think it's very cool, Tim.
Yeah. I really think I deserved it for like 2 years ago. This year I didn't deserve it as much. Perhaps they're just counting the 12 berths on one of my platforms this year. I make these platforms that float up and down in the water, and the light-footed clapper rail nests on them. That's one of our endangered species. And just one of my platforms had 3 chicks on it this year. So, 12 chicks on it.
Wow.
On just one of my platforms. And I've got 32 platforms out there, and we found evidence of use of every platform and nesting on a dozen of the platforms.
Well, now, if these platforms weren't there in nature, what would they normally use?
The habitat is so altered because we've changed creeks. We've turned creeks into flood control channels, and destroyed the habitat. The grass is stunted in its height. Normally, these birds would be weaving first a floating nest, and then a bower to cover the nest. And the grass is too short. Now, when the tide comes in, instead of being the tops of the grass sticking above the high tide, the only thing you see out there are my platforms. That just looks like a lake with these platforms floating in it.
Before things were altered like that, the nest they would weave would actually be floating nests.
Yes, and their eggs are like duck eggs in that they can stand inundation with water. They nest like ducks. As a matter of fact, last year, one of my platforms had a duck nest and a clapper rail nest on the same platform. It was just bizarre.
At the same time?
At the same time, right next to each other.
Because these platforms are like this, right?
Yeah. I've since shrunk the size of the platform to make them more family size. I had never seen a nest in the wild until after I went into Mexico, where the habitat at Bahia Punta Banda, just south of Ensenada, is still in good shape. And so I saw an actual natural nest, and I said, "Oh, look at that!" And that was the genesis of my platforms. before that, they had been taking shipping pallets, throwing some floats under it, tying down a tumbleweed to it, and staking it out in the marsh. Okay? Well, I says, you know, there's no squares in nature. Nature is round. You know, nature does not waste energy in its production, and squares are a waste of energy. And so I built it round. And, you know, they obviously, you know, my first platform that I put out was as an experiment, was the first colonized of the year. Okay? And then I put out one of my platforms next to one of the old style platforms. And that platform became it immediately colonized where previous year they had used the old style platform.
They went for it right away.
They said, yeah. So then I knew I was onto something. And then I tried to get a grant to cover the expense of it, right? The Natural Resources Defense Council has a endangered species recovery grant that they make available. So I applied for one of those, and they said, well, you know, they called me like 3 times. I was just sure that I had the grant, because I wasn't asking for that much money. $6,800, you know. And they called, you know, and to ask me more about it, so I was just sure that I was going to get it. And then they said, you know, you're working on a national wildlife refuge. We have limited funds. It seems to us that the federal government should cover the expense of this, right? But the Fish and Wildlife Service has been flatlined or cut in budget for the last few years. Then I put out an appeal to the general public in my newsletter, and immediately got the funding necessary to build a dozen platforms and put them out there. So it was a good year. We went from a population of 33 to a population of 68 in 1 year.
That's like more than double.
Yeah. Not all of them were born on my platforms, but it was a good jump.
So this is the wetlands that's this, like basically at the south end of Long Beach Harbor, right?
It's Anaheim Bay. It's the estuary of Anaheim Creek. Anaheim Creek used to start in La Habra Heights and flow down across Anaheim at Fullerton and Anaheim, and then into Western Garden Grove. But that has so been altered. Just terrible. This was supported the village of Covunga, which was a Tongvan, what the Europeans call Gabrielino, Juanino folks. It supported that village on the headlands there for years and years, you know, millennia.
Hey, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. I know I enjoyed filming it. And there's going to be plenty more where that came from. So please like and share if you like what we're doing here. And if you have any questions about Tim or Max or anything that has to do with what we're doing, please leave it in the comments section, and we'll try to get back to you on that. So I'll see you on the next episode of Dan's Garage. Thanks.